Mara parked the car again. She didn't remember turning around. Didn't remember steering back into the fog. But somehow, impossibly, she was back at the diner. Same gravel. Same neon buzz. Only now, there was another car in the lot. A black sedan, dusted in road salt, streaked with fingerprints and scratches. The back window was cracked. The license plate was from Colorado. Someone else was here. Someone new. Or, not new. Mara's breath came faster. She slid a hand into her coat pocket and closed her fingers around her car keys, the metal edges sharp and comforting. She stepped out of the car slowly. The air felt different. Charged. Like the fog was thicker, watching her somehow. As she neared the diner, the door creaked open. A man stepped out. He was tall, early 30s maybe, with short brown hair and tired, narrowed eyes. He looked like someone who'd been up all night for 3 days straight. His jacket was wrinkled. His shirt was stained. There was mud on his jeans. They stared at each other for a long moment. "You're not from here," Mara said. "Neither are you," he replied, guarded. He looked her up and down. "Name's Jonah." "Mara." She nodded toward the diner. "You go in." He hesitated. "Yeah. Not for long." "Long enough." "You see the guest book?" she asked. Jonah blinked. That shook him. "You saw it too. Your brother's name is in it. Ethan Reed." "I saw it." His jaw clenched. "You knew him?" "No," Mara said quietly. "But something here wants me to." They stood in silence for a moment, the fog curling around them like smoke. The red neon behind them buzzed, louder than before. Jonah stepped closer. "You try to leave." "I did. I drove in a circle for 20 minutes. Came back to the same sign." He nodded grimly. "Yeah. Same." "Then how do we get out?" Jonah exhaled, rubbed his eyes. "That's the problem. I think. This place doesn't want us to. And it doesn't like when you try." He turned toward the diner window. Mara followed his gaze. Inside, the man behind the counter was still standing perfectly still. Same fixed smile. Same eyes, too dark to reflect light. He was watching them. Jonah leaned in, voice low. "I think he knows everything. More than he lets on. But I don't think he's the one in charge." Mara's voice was barely a whisper. "Then who is?" The window behind the counter shimmered. Both of them looked. For a split second, the man's reflection was wrong. It wasn't smiling. It wasn't even facing them. It looked afraid. Then it snapped back, like a puppet returning to position. Something moved inside the mirror. A face. A woman's. Pale. Hollow-eyed. Lips moving. Mara grabbed Jonah's arm. "Did you see that?" He nodded slowly. They both took a step back. Behind them, the jukebox inside the diner powered on again. A new song played, an old one. "I Only Have Eyes for You." Low. Echoing. Warped, like it was underwater. Jonah turned to her, voice steady. "If we're both here, we have a chance. You don't put people together unless there's a reason." Mara nodded. "We figure it out. We find a way out." Jonah glanced toward the woods behind the diner. "There's a back road. I saw it from the window upstairs. It's not on the GPS, might be nothing, but it's something." They exchanged a look, uncertain, wary, but bonded now by survival. As they began walking toward the back of the diner, the fog shifted behind them. In the diner window, the woman in the mirror pressed her hands against the glass, her silent mouth forming a single word over and over. "Hurry." The diner's back wall was mostly overgrown, vines crawling up the weathered wood like veins. A single security light flickered overhead, casting long, jittery shadows across the gravel. Behind the building was a narrow trail, not a road, exactly, but something that had once been cleared. Jonah swept aside a curtain of branches, revealing a half-buried wooden post. It was a sign. The lettering was almost unreadable, carved decades ago. Moss obscured most of it, but 2 words remained. "Old Road." Mara tilted her head. "That's not on any map." "Exactly," Jonah said. But I saw it from the second floor. It runs behind the hills, away from town. Does it actually lead out? Jonah looked down the fog-choked trail. Let's find out. They moved carefully. The path wound between skeletal trees, gnarled and black, their bark damp with rot. The mist was heavier here, but quieter, like even the fog was holding its breath. There were no birds, no insects, no wind. Just the sound of their footsteps and the occasional rustling of leaves that neither of them made. After about 15 minutes, the trail widened, opening onto what had once been a service road, overgrown, cracked, but still navigable. Wooden planks lay rotting across what had been a small bridge. An old telephone pole leaned precariously, its wires long dead. A rusted street sign stood nearby, bent sideways. Mist Hill Sanatorium. Mara stopped cold. Sanatorium? Jonah crouched, brushing dirt away from the base of the sign. Didn't show up in my research. It must be pre-digital. Forgotten. She turned slowly, scanning the woods. Places like that don't disappear. Unless someone wants them to. They kept walking. The road sloped downward, the fog thinning slightly. Here, the air felt older. And then, a hum. Low. Electrical. Subtle. It buzzed faintly through the soles of their shoes. They followed it. They crested a hill and saw it, a stone gate, mostly collapsed, draped in vines. Beyond it, an enormous, derelict structure emerged from the mist, grey brick, shattered windows, and a bell tower that had long since lost its bell. The sanatorium. 3 stories tall, half swallowed by the forest. It was completely silent. Mara stepped closer. The gates creaked open at the slightest touch. As they passed through, Jonah turned to her. This place isn't part of the town. No, Mara said. It's older. Deeper. Then why lead us here? She pointed to the top floor window. Because someone wants us to see. Behind a shattered pane of glass, a figure stood watching. Too far to see clearly. Just a pale silhouette, unmoving. Jonah reached into his coat and pulled out a small flashlight. We're not turning back, are we? Mara shook her head. No. We find what's inside. Whatever's behind this Mist Hill, the diner, the mirror, it started here. Jonah gave a tight nod. Together, they walked toward the sanatorium. Behind them, the trail was gone. Fog filled the road completely, smooth and untouched, as if no one had ever walked it. And high in the bell tower, something began to whisper.